I'm doing what you told me to do. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Give us like 30 seconds. Yes. There's a little delay in that commercial delay.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We good? Okay. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Architecture Review Board on May 17th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 That was your sneeze, I believe. Okay, we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 3 on our agenda is citizens' time. Anyone here to address the ARB that does not otherwise have an item on the agenda, you are welcome to come and address the Architecture Review Board. Seeing none, we will move to the minute approval of April 19th, 2023. Any suggested revisions or edits? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from April 19th, 2023.
Have a second?
A second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion will pass with Mr. Hallett absent for the vote. Okay. Next up, agenda items. First is demolition permit request, 6712 Jefferson Street. This is a continuation from our April 19th meeting. And as we mentioned earlier, we did just finish a site visit of the property. Several members did tour the interior of the site. So, any updates or any additional discussion by staff or the applicant's representative?
Chairman, I will start us off, please.
Okay.
So based on our last meeting, we had a discussion where the board requested the meeting minutes from the previous application. Those have been supplied for you to review. We had that included in your packet. Again, as you stated, we did our site visit of the property as a standard that we have set for when we approve demolition permits. So at this time, if you have any questions specifically for Mr. Rosati, please feel free to ask any questions. Or if you have any questions as staff, please ask us as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rosati, any follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Michelle Rosati for the applicant. I thank you all for your time and coming and doing the site visit. I do want to just refer back to our written submission. I wanted to mention one thing for the record that we talked a little bit about in the field today, which is that it's a pretty significant addition to the original house in the rear, visible from the public way, that apparently was built in the 1970s, and I don't think that's in the written record, but I think it's worth putting in the record. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by the board? Okay. Any discussion by the board or any points that we wish to make? No? Okay, Ben? Okay. Well, I'll start off with some initial comments. Appreciate, good to see the Beans here again. I know you're ready to move on with this. Just as a refresher, last time we revisited this issue, there was an interested contract purchaser in wanting to look at reusing the property. At the time, because he was an interested purchaser, he did not see the rationale for having to do any additional assessment or inspection due to the fact that he intended to rehab the structure. Those 2 points versus our criteria, we do have policies, ordinances, guidelines that talk about adaptive reuse and preservation of our town's historic structures, historic meaning those that are significant or have a architectural interest to the town. This property is listed as one of those structures. That decision was later appealed to the ARB at the time, denied it partially because on that basis it was appealed to the town council. The town council upheld the ARB's decision. If I understand the facts correctly, after that, the contract purchaser, I believe, rescinded his contract. Another interested party came in, was looking at adaptively using some of those buildings. We had also considered rezoning the council. When I say we, the council had looked at rezoning the property to B1 to provide some other viable options of the property. Those actions did not move forward either. So I believe there has been several attempts with which to get an interested party into the structure. And I believe those are the key differences between now and before. And excuse me, I'm sorry. That being said, we also have an inspection report that was submitted this time. Ms. Rosati I believe, did a good job of addressing the criteria both in the zoning ordinance and within our comprehensive plan and our design guidelines. And so that on that basis, while it's unfortunate we could not find an interested party, I do believe, given the circumstances, that it would be appropriate in this instance to allow the structure to come down. So that being said, any additional discussion by board members, observations, follow-up questions? Okay. Similar in the past demolition permits we have presented conditions of approval which talk about photo documentation and written descriptions of the property, and would suggest as part of this approval for a demolition permit, should that be the consensus of the board, I would recommend that those two conditions apply, and those would be required prior to the demolition of the structure. I have also presented to the town zoning administrator the prior findings we had with prior approvals, and then we also included in this draft motion an acknowledgement of the applicant. I believe one of our prior approvals of a demolition permit, the required documentation was not clearly. Is there a good way to describe that?
We have found that the requirements or conditions that were placed were not necessarily provided to the property owner. The person who represented the application didn't share everything, so we're having a difficult time now. So we're hoping that an applicant acknowledgement will avoid that situation. Also, tonight, there are property owners are here in the audience.
Okay. Could I borrow your pen? Emily, what is the zoning permit number for this?
P 2023-0422.
Okay. Would you prefer I read the entirety of this in the record? Okay. I move that the Architecture Review Board approves COA ZP 2023-0422 to demolish the Baker Bean structure at 6712 Jefferson Street, subject to the following conditions: findings for approval and applicant acknowledgement. Conditions of approval: 1, photo documentation. Prior to the issuance of a zoning permit for the demolition of the structure, the applicant will provide the town complete photographic documentation of the exterior and interior of the structure. Photo documentation will include all 4 elevations of the exterior of the structure, including views from Jefferson Street that demonstrate the structure's relationship to adjacent structures in the streetscape. Photo documentation shall also include architectural details of the structure, such as building eaves, columns, entry doors, windows, etc. Interior photos should note the room layout and similar architectural details. Excuse me. Photo documentation is to be submitted to the town in hard copy and digital formats. Second condition, written description. Prior to the issuance of the town zoning permit for demolition of the structure, the applicant will provide to the town a complete written description of the exterior and interior of the structure, written documentation to include interior and exterior dimensions of the structure, orientation on the property through a plat or similar description, and a description of the architectural style, period, and method of construction of the structure. Written descriptions to be submitted to the town in hard copy and digital formats. Also, based on the following findings for approval: conditional approval of demolition requires photographic and written documentation of the architectural elements of the structure and its context relative to the town streetscape and adjacent properties for future study and architectural reference. Finding number 2, demolition of the structure has the potential to improve and or continue the viability of occupied historic structures, those being the old bank building and Masonic Lodge, that are proximate to the subject structure. Third, applicant acknowledgement. In accepting the ARB decision, the applicant and/or property owner acknowledges the above requirements and that the requisite photo documentation, written description may be requested and to be submitted and accepted by the town prior to any zoning permit, zoning verification letter, or other town permission necessary to authorize said demolition. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion or clarifications on the motion? Okay. None? Okay. Any issues? Okay. With that being said, no further discussion. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote, please. I'm sorry, did you want to? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Okay. That motion will pass 4-0-1 with ARB member Hallett absent for the vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bean, I'll only say is that before you demolish the structure, you have a great 8-track collection up there. And you have some paintings on the wall that maybe it's a Picasso in hiding. And
Don't see what's in our garage.
so thank you very much for going through this process again. Best of luck to you. And
Thank you very much.
so. Okay. Thank you, board members. Next agenda item.
Okay, sounds good.
I lost the agenda. Okay, Kitty Academy revised elevations.
Yes.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead.
were you going to take these in a different order?
We can,
Okay.
because this is an elevations review versus the third item was going to be a sign permit, so I thought we could move item 3 up to item 2.
Yes, do you want to do items 3 and 4 and then come back to the architectural elevations?
Why don't we just switch items 3 and 2?
Okay, cool. We will move to item number 3, sign permit application, self-storage plus, 6600 James Madison Highway.
Great.
Thomas,
As
if you could
we
do
go through the agenda, now that the Bean property has been discussed and taken care of, we're on packet page 93. So Haymarket Self-Storage sold to another buyer, and the address is 6600 James Madison Highway is now Self-Storage Plus. Self-Storage Plus has now applied for signage, and that is what this will be about. We have 2 representatives from Absolute Signs with us that can describe the business and the sign placement for you all. You can go up there.
Thanks,
Just
Thomas.
press the button to make sure the light's green.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the board. We represent Absolute Signs, so we're the ones proposing the signage for Self-Storage Plus. The signage consists of 2 site signs on the main roads. If you're familiar with the property, self-storage, Haymarket Self-Storage is kind of hidden from the main road, so nobody can really see it. So we're proposing 2 MDO site signs and 1 aluminum sign for the frontage of the building. According to the designs that we've presented, they do comply with the guidelines that were already established. I think the 2 site signs were the ones in question as far as the placement of where we're proposing them to be.
We're on packet pages 102 through 105.
Okay.
If you do have a map in front of you, I assume.
101.
Sorry, thank you. Give me 1 second. The site sign that we're proposing with along the Swirlies ice cream, the purpose of that sign is to kind of give direction to the public of where the Self-Storage Plus is going to be located, hence the design, which is a Self-Storage Plus with an arrow. And then the main site sign where the Haymarket storage site sign was located, which we were informed that it was grandfathered in previously, we're just trying to replace it. We've removed that sign and we're just trying to replace it with a new site sign.
Could you go through the materials that you're proposing?
Yes. 1 second. Yeah.
All right, so for the building signage, sorry,
For the building signage, that's going to be 080 aluminum panel with digital print applied to the face, and then it's going to be screwed into the facade. I guess there's two aluminum signs. There's also another one that is a little bit bigger that looks like,
And it's inside their property. It seems
Yeah.
like it's a gated property and that's inside.
and then same deal. It's going to be 080 aluminum panel, and then it's going to be screwed in. That one looks like it's going to be concrete, and then it's going to have the masonry anchors. For the site signs, which I know is a bigger deal, what we have here is going to, where the Haymarket self-storage sign is existing, we're suggesting to put 4x4 pressure-treated posts with an MDO, which is just a wooden face. And then they'll be painted in digital prints. And then the other site sign that has the arrow, it's basically the same setup.
Okay. Any lighting of any of these signs?
No, no lighting.
Is the existing lighting for, I guess it's the site sign, is that to remain? Or will that also be removed when you remove the existing Haymarket self-storage sign?
That was existing. This was I don't think it's been removed.
But
I don't even know
with
if they
with the
want to.
lights, will the lights also be removed when the Haymarket self-storage sign is removed as well?
Well, that sign was already removed. The
Okay.
Haymarket self-storage was
Okay.
already removed. The lights, they didn't mention anything about removing them. I'm not really sure if they're still there.
Okay.
Still there? I don't think I've seen them work in years.
Okay.
Our intention was to mimic what was existing, as far as, removing what's existing and just replacing it with a new sign for self-storage was.
Is there a rationale as to why the site sign is bigger than the other one? Because the other one was, 78 inches tall, and this one's now 102.
Right, it was just a request from the client.
Okay.
So as we were going through the design phase, it was just self-storage plus trying to be more, predominant in that location. So it was just a request that they had.
Okay.
102, that's
And that's just 102.
7 feet, right?
Yeah, that's that's gonna be 10-foot posts, right? I believe,
Yeah.
on these.
Yeah,
Height
it's
limit in the
just over-
gateway is 10 feet.
What's that?
Height limit in the gateway district is 10 feet.
Yeah, it just looks like it's just over 8 feet, and then because the posts are 2 feet into the ground, or 30 inches in the ground. But we did mimic. I guess we went off of how it scales up proportionally when we did the same width, and then just with their logo being a little taller, that's why it's the panel's a little bit taller. And then we got to clear the bushes for visibility.
Sorry, I'm pulling up my calculator. Because I can't do simple math in my head anymore.
Should be 8 feet.
It's
6
8.5
inches.
versus 6.5.
Okay. Any other questions?
You mentioned a lot of this stuff will get fastened with wood screws. Well, I take that back. Some you say masonry anchor, some you say stainless steel screws for the site sign, and I think it was the other sign that gets attached to the building. Those are wood screws. Is that intended to be exterior grade?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thomas, the wall signs are within the range of the ordinances, right? Yes. And we're looking at it as a front and a side sign? Okay. Do you have permission yet, written permission yet from either property owner for these off-site signs?
From the,
And maybe to clarify that one, I do believe that one of the signs, based on where it's proposed, is going to be located in the VDOT right-of-way because they own the stormwater management facility that's over there on Route 15.
okay.
They're very particular about signs within their property. So that is something that we can help you investigate it and give you a point of contact that you can reach out to them. And then for the other front sign, that was the one that was already taken down, that was grandfathered in, that's on the Aldi lot. And so we would need to see some kind of acknowledgement from the property owner that there's an easement or that it's allowed.
I understand.
Yeah, so I think we've been questioned before about allowing some of these signs that the property owner have not yet acknowledged or assigned to. So I would be inclined to at least hold this over until we can get permission from those two owners. So there is a letter in there from your self-storage facility, but not the two. The zoning ordinance, I believe, does allow off-premise signs, so the sign's allowed, and the signs are within the dimensions. Although I would agree with Ben that the height of 10 feet, you're right at the edge of the gateway, I believe, going into the core. Most of the signs, multi-tenant signs are that high, but a single-tenant sign.
Well, it's the posts are 10 feet,
Okay.
and they go 30 inches into the ground. So it's only going to be 8 feet 6 inches out of the ground to the top of the sign.
Okay, versus what was the existing sign?
6.5.
Yeah, I would be inclined to recommend that a similar sign height as the one that it's replacing. I had someone talk to the committee about this one, the branding is blue is the self-storage plus branding. Most of the freestanding signs we have, the posts are a different color, either like a black or a red or something other that distinguishes it. I was just looking at the Taco Bell signs, even those have a border around that, and also the posts are of a different color, and some have the finials. Would you be objectionable, or would your client be objectionable to changing the color scheme or the support color?
It would be something we just have to run by them.
Okay.
Self-storage plus being their colors.
Okay.
Blue and white. I don't know if they are married to those colors as far as brand recognition more than anything.
Okay. And the letters on that, are those just vinyl sticker letters on the?
It's a digital
also-
print.
Yeah, the whole sign face has a digital print applied to it.
Okay.
So it's a print. The blue and the white are printed and laminated.
Is saying vinyl sticker, is that an insulting thing to tell a sign person, or?
No, no.
It's an easy way to understand it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, regarding your colors, you have specific colors for just red or black?
I think what we've seen in the precedent in town with the freestanding signs that the supports are a different color. They tend to be more muted, either a beige or a black, or and there's some examples around town that you can see.
Just the posts?
Just the posts, and then did we have any suggestion maybe a border as well? Just like an applied border?
Yeah. Or a finial.
Or a finial?
Just kind of finish it off and still have it have that same feel that we're going for the town, because this seems very modern and slick in a sense, which is beautiful, but still doesn't quite seem to work well with the aesthetic that we have. So I think if just even the posts and the finials or something else could be changed, I think that will tone down the modern a little without changing their color preference.
Okay.
I would agree. The building itself, it's a utilitarian building.
Yes,
It's cheap metal.
absolutely.
The signs out on 15, you're still in the industrial district. I agree on Main Street,
Yeah.
this sign, I think, would be helped if we could pay some additional attention to it. So, any other comments or questions? Okay. I can realize your client will probably be frustrated, but I think my recommendation would be that we go ahead and hold it over, make the changes to the Washington Street sign. The recommendation would be is there a general consensus about similar height to the one that's already out there? Okay. Similar height to the sign that was replacing. And then if your client could look at different color scheme for the posts with sort of a matching border, and then whether or not a decorative top would make sense on top of those posts.
Okay.
And then if you could.
Sorry, a matching border to the face, just like the Haymarket has, the green.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that generally the consensus? No,
Yeah.
Sort of so maybe the same color. And then if you could please secure the property owner's consent for those two signs, revise the plan, and then we can get you out of here next month. So any objections, any concerns? Okay. We do have a temporary sign ordinance. So if your owner is or your client's excited to get moving, If you could talk with the zoning administrator, and we can get you some temporary sign options
Okay.
while the permanent signage gets installed or approved. Any objections to that recommendation?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I need to do a motion to continue it? Okay.
Defer the decision to you.
Okay. Do we have a ZP number, or I can just go by the?
Let me give.
No, I have it. I have it here.
Okay.
Okay. I move that the ARB defer action on ZP 2023-0414 sign permit application, Self-Storage Plus, 6600 James Madison Highway to the June 21st Architecture Review Board meeting. Okay, can I get a second? Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That will pass with Mr. Hallett absent for the vote. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
No, random question. Isn't Self-Storage Plus across the street too?
They're everywhere.
Okay. We're everywhere. Okay. I'm sure Mr. Wolf is very excited. So-
Thank you.
Okay, back to Kitty Academy.
Yes, zoning permit number 2023-0415. So in our last meeting, we discussed the exterior elevations for Kitty Academy, which will be located in the northwestern section of Crossroads Village Center. The board discussed adding color renderings, so we could look at the palette used and just a more unique style given aside from what was looked at in the Crossroads Village master sign and exterior plan. So the applicant has returned with color renderings of an updated design for presentation. I have hard copies available along with what is located in packet page. Excuse me. Packet pages 91 and 92.
Thank you.
Can I get the hard copy?
Yes.
It's
I'll give you all a smaller
getting jacked
version of it for the table, and then I'll put a larger rendering on the attorney's table.
This is just for the architecture, not the sign, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The sign is shown on the building just as a placeholder.
Okay.
The graphics vendor will apply for it and present
Okay.
that portion of it.
Two different sides of it.
And what's the color palette for the entire complex? Where's
It's the
that?
same that was approved previously for the development. We're using all the same materials and colors.
But we do, is that what you're getting, Thomas?
He's getting the easel, drop those up.
But is I guess what I'm looking for,
You can pull the color palettes
Yeah,
out
yeah,
and drop them off last month, right? And you can pull back out.
Okay. let's see.
Before we get started, I have a quick sort of introductory question. Last month, we had talked about maybe jettisoning this one and going to one of your other prototypes that was similar to the buildings. Was there any thought or feedback to that?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Every community is different.
Gotcha.
They all want something special or different. For us to bring in something that is from another community, it's not going to match the architecture or
Okay.
the materials that you presently have at the center.
Okay.
So I understand what you're asking, but in all honesty, every single one of the designs I do is unique.
Okay.
There's not it's not a McDonald's type of architecture that you see the same building duplicated several times.
Similar to the last applicant, I hope my question was not insulting, saying, you know,
Oh,
can you do
no.
an
Now, I understand what you're asking for. It just, it's kind of hard to do because each one's unique. Every single floor plan is different that I do. Even though they say it's a prototype, there's no such thing as a prototype.
Okay.
These are the materials that we're using, and these are all the same materials that are at the center presently.
And if Ben, before I jump in, one more question too. The orientation, could you help us? The
The
front elevation, is that facing the
to the
townhomes?
east.
Okay, so it's
I
facing.
don't know what's around there, you know, I just have a limited site plan.
Sure. Do we, I don't think we have that in our packet.
Ben, you don't have this, I'm sorry, Ben's over here. Thomas, you don't happen to have the site plan showing this orientation on the site, do you?
Not in this agenda.
Okay. So if you're looking behind the CVS, there's a pad site behind the CVS and behind the Chick-fil-A. It's sort of a triangle. And I assume this is where that's going
Right.
there. And so
To the east is the front elevation.
that's facing the townhomes.
Yeah, that's this one right here.
The left side elevation then would be the side scene from Chick-fil-A and the bank.
So that would be the south side, is that correct?
The south side,
Okay.
I guess that would be facing 66.
Yeah.
That would be this elevation. That's the
no, no, no.
south side
And
elevation.
then the bottom one would be the west
The
elevation
rear.
facing 15.
Right, where the playground is going to be located at.
Oh, so the playground will be between this and the highway? Oh, no, 15, I mean. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Ben. Go ahead, go for it.
So I think there's like a whiter material on there. Is that what's supposed to be the trim around?
Yeah, that's going to be all,
pieces?
it's Arctic white. It'll be all the trim around the perimeter, around the windows and doors, and at the very top peak of the roof. And then the dark bronze will be the color of the windows and doors, the aluminum. And it'll be the top flat coping that's around the perimeter of the building.
Okay.
We do have some ephes that's going to be up on the very top that's going to match the color of the lap siding, which you had asked last week for us to reverse that and have the darker be the board and batten, and then the lap siding be the lighter color, which is cobblestone. The stone on the bottom, which is the water table, will match the Chick-fil-A and the other buildings there. And that was on that, wherever that sample board went.
Okay.
Okay, that's all right.
And, go ahead, Ben.
And so that upper parapet, I think last time we discussed that it was intended to kind of hide the mechanical.
And that's still the same thing.
And
It is
is
deep enough that all of the HVAC rooftop units will be hidden behind that parapet wall.
And is that stepped back?
Yes,
Because
it
you said
is.
that eaves is, so then that's stepped back a couple.
Yes.
Okay. And is it metal flashing for the coping, or is
Yeah,
it like a
it will
stone?
be aluminum.
Okay.
So there'll be a band about
Okay.
8 inches high that'll be around the perimeter, and then there'll be a small soffit that's underneath of it that'll be bronze also.
Okay.
It'll be metal.
That soffit goes all the way around?
Correct.
That's about 6 inches, I guess?
I think it's about a foot.
The overhang to the front entrance, that's
It is a flat roof.
flat roof?
Yes.
And then the lines on either side of those are the
Those
gutters?
are downspouts that come from the gutters.
Okay. Couple initial thoughts. So I appreciate tying in to try to tie into the other features of it. I think switching the board and batten with the what do you call that siding?
Lap siding.
The lap siding, does a better job of that. Challenge still is, I think, applying this to a two-story building. How do we do that? So, point of looking at Lidl. So, when if Lidl ever develops, they sort of took their modern sort of thing and put some of the colors in it. With this one, I almost wonder now with we call this the coping, and then the ephes up on top. Don't kill me when I suggest this. Does it
Okay.
make sense to have that anymore? have the,
The pitched roof there.
yeah, especially
The
on
gable.
when you look from the side, it doesn't go all the way across. It's sort of, so
Right.
if I'm sitting at Chick-fil-A,
It's truncated.
yeah, if I'm sitting at Chick-fil-A in the drive-through looking at that, I'm like,
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
This is a flat elevation.
okay.
If you're on the ground looking up, you're really not going to see that specific elevate, if you know what I mean. You're looking at this directly on as opposed to from the ground up. So you really won't see that. If you want, we could bring an angle down from that.
What do you think about just changing it? So the Popeyes, you see the Popeyes when it came in? No, okay.
I've seen Popeyes before, yes.
We're getting mixed comments about our Popeyes architecture. But it sort of capped it off. It made a parapet wall up front. So I was wondering, what are the thoughts if we did something where, since all of this is sort of linear and capped with
Is
the,
flatten that.
do you flatten that about,
What you could do is you could take it up a little higher right here and flatten it. So it'd be the same thing as this, just moved over and higher.
what are your thoughts on that? It sort of create that theme.
We could do that. The intent is to have a high enough location for where that sign band's going to set.
So if you bring it out and go up, you may have
Yeah.
some, okay.
And we can do that. We can flatten it out with no problem.
My suggestion wouldn't be higher than the screening on the ephes. I wouldn't go higher than that, maybe just below. Any thoughts on, Ben? You're deferring to you on the architecture stuff. My vocabularies. So that would be, go ahead.
No, I think that would be better, and I'm really appreciative of you taking our suggestions last time and flipping it, because I feel like now it doesn't look like this vertical gray mass, right? You kind of, because you switch the materials around it accentuates the horizontal, right? And this two-story, and you've done that, and I think that looks better. But I think to Marshawn's point, it does, knowing that the function of the roof is more, it's not an architectural, the purpose isn't architectural, the purpose is more functionality, right? It's more of the engineering rather than the architecture. And knowing, as you admitted, that you just need the height in order to get the sign, I think to Marshawn's point, it kind of makes sense of, just flatten it out, because then you don't necessarily need it, right?
We can do that, like just right above the sign, maybe at the midpoint between these two.
That or, no higher, no higher than the roof too, yeah.
Yeah.
And that would sort of change the side. I know you're talking about with flat where you're on ground level looking up.
Right.
I think that upper elevation
It'll
would
change this. It'll
Exactly.
come down to here, which I think, in all honesty, will look a little bit better. So what we'd like to propose is, can you approve it with that condition? And what I can do is modify the rendering and send it to you and have you guys look at it. But, if it's not, adequate, we can make those changes as opposed to waiting another month and coming back to the next meeting.
Sure.
Let's think about that. Like I said, with the last application, I think we got some feedback about having renderings not accurately depict the thing. So let's think about that one. So some other suggestions. Thank you for taking that one. The windows, that's the consensus of the group. The front elevation, the windows, you have the awnings above the front windows, which matches the retail center.
Right.
Any other suggestions on treatments for the windows up top?
Yeah, these are about as high as I can get them, first of all, with the ceiling in there and the deck and everything.
Okay.
So
Any other treatments?
we could take the awnings and put up at the top.
Any thoughts on that?
As
Staff,
additional.
Emily? Awnings or,
So that it would match? It would be on the bottom and the top, or just?
On the top and bottom, yeah.
what was that? I'm sorry.
That might do what you wanted to do. If
Yeah,
the
do we-
awning is added to the top
Does that break
as well.
up sort of that?
Is, and I don't know that this is a correct approach or it's just an idea.
The bottom windows, are those spaced out because those are classrooms
Yes.
on the interior, so there's no option to do larger windows on the bottom with a larger awning across?
We're having a lot of trouble because there are closets in there, there's, other rooms that are configured. So we tried to space them out as well as we could. These are 2 offices that are there, and then there's a classroom here and a classroom here. So,
For the ones that are the classrooms, is that one classroom on the left with 2 windows and one classroom on the right with 2 windows?
no, there's one classroom right here, and an office sits right there, office that sits right there, and classroom that's there.
shutters on the other one? Is there precedent for shutters on the other buildings?
No, I'm just throwing stuff out.
To
Something.
make it one window that's just wider with one single awning? Is that of any visual interest?
I think that's gonna connotate more retail than the function of what the building is. I understand what you're saying because the retail, has like glass all the way across. Where this is a different function, different building.
And honestly, looking at the front perspective, because there is the balance of those lower windows that flank the front doorway, that lends a similarity or a balance to the upper windows, and plus the middle window there as well. I don't really see that you would need to add more, personally.
And more here, okay.
Yes, yeah, like I think that again there's a nice balance to all the windows without them looking, like if there weren't the lower window that flanks the front door, or there weren't in that middle section, that other middle window there, if those weren't there, then I think like maybe the back view, that's why it might look a little bit off, but because there is the balance of the lower window that matches the upper window, that lends a balance to the front of the storefront. Does that make sense?
Yes, but not having the awnings up here.
Exactly.
Okay,
Like,
not
I don't
having
think
it,
you need
okay.
to gild the lily anymore, really, in order for it to give you what you wanted, a nice symmetry to the front. Does that make sense?
Does.
Personally,
and then
that's
I-
just my perspective.
And I think if you add more awnings, then it almost gives you this New England hotel style, and that's
Or
not.
New Orleans, I started
and
thinking
that's,
New
not-
Orleans.
that's not what we're.
Yeah, and
that's not really what
We're
we're
in
that's
going
not
Florida
what
for.
you're
somewhere.
going
Okay.
for. So yeah, so I think the way as it stands, I'm on board with that.
But you're not staying on the Airbnb anymore. You got so much to say
I know,
tonight.
I know.
Um,
I know.
you can stay if you want. Next suggestion on the upper elevation there. What about the window openings but covered? So you carry around so that's a large sort of mass on the side. So you sort of have the outline of the windows, you know what I'm talking about, where it's
Right.
That-
Well,
that- you kind of have like
this is a
function.
classroom, okay?
Yeah.
Here's a classroom. There's classrooms up here, but there's also a stair tower that's right there. And that's one window that's in the stair tower. Over here, there's a kitchen right there that we pretty much need all wall surface because we have, range and a hood and all kind of things. So we can't put glass there.
that wasn't the suggestion.
Oh.
You'll see it's an opening, it's a false opening, but it breaks up that wall.
Okay.
So I think on the CVS, you saw that where most of they're stacking against the outside walls. They're not real windows. They have like the brick
We,
framing and then they
yeah,
have interior.
we could do what we call panels that are here and here to break that surface up.
So, and now, the board suggestions, what about, to your earlier point, is that too much? You're gonna be seeing that from the back of the buildings on Washington Street. Do we have any suggestions, or do we see the need to break that up a little bit?
What's in front of this, right? Because it's the Chick-fil-A is in front of this.
So,
A lot of it's going to be covered by
Landscaping
Yeah,
and
the
everything?
building.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
then
I mean-
I don't.
and the front entrance faces the Pulte Townhomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you overthinking it? You think it's okay with this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there a requirement or any need for a fence due to just safety reasonings? If so,
There is.
Okay.
The fence, and we usually are asked not to show it on here, by other communities, because it kind of detracts from the architecture. But yes, there's a fence that starts out at the very corner,
Okay,
and it comes out 7 feet away from the wall here,
okay,
so that if there's ever an emergency, and these are emergency exits that are required by code, the kids come out of there and they have a rallying point in the very back of the playground area.
okay,
And by code, it has to be 50 feet away from the building,
okay,
so that if the building was on fire or anything, and there were rescue units or firemen or whatever, the kids would not be in the way of them fighting the fire.
okay,
So that's one issue. So we don't have it going across the front of this, and in most buildings that we design, there are 2 doors or 3 doors that come out the front, and so there's literally a fence all the way around. We tried to get rid of the fence, and that's why we have these doors on the side. There's another one over here that the kids come out and then exit and then go back to the playground.
okay. What material and design is the fence?
It's a black aluminum or steel fencing. It's a picket that is 3 inches on center. It's required by licensing to be that close. And it is 4 foot high on the sides. It's 5 foot high at the playground.
Okay,
5 foot high so that nobody can reach over the fence and grab a child. 4 foot high so it kind of minimizes it, on the sides.
okay. Can you submit those specs to Thomas? And then in the front there, I know based on our site plan that we're reviewing, the parking is up to the front of the building.
It's head-in parking, yes.
Is there any need or requirement for bollards to go in?
They have bollards that sometimes they ask us to put just in front of the front door.
Okay.
That's it.
If we want to discuss that as an option, can you propose a color that would be in the color scheme so that's something we could approve as
They
needed?
usually do a black PVC
Black
cover.
PVC?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it matches the color of the fencing.
Okay, include that.
Along with that too, the reason we're asking about these is the county will ask specifically for these items. Sometimes, we've been lucky in our past minutes for the freestanding buildings in Crossroads Village to have them in the minutes, so when I retroactively approve them, it's located there. One more item along with that, for trash enclosures, could you also provide diagrams and color schemes for that as well?
We use the exact same material
Okay.
that is on the building.
Okay.
So it'll be the 12 by 12 square, which is typical. It'll have the stone on the bottom, and then it'll have the siding on the sides and the back.
Will there be any gate on the
Yeah, there'll
front?
be gates, and,
Okay.
and that'll be metal material that's painted the color of the siding.
Color of the sign.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can it just match the retail center standard?
What he just described, it'll match
Okay.
very closely. Since Lidl did a separate one, I think it's fine in keeping theirs
Okay.
to match their building, because then when you look at the property as a whole.
It just looks like a outbuilding that matches it color-wise and
And
material-wise.
then they don't require, will they have any playground structures, shed structures? that-
They will, I don't, we don't design the playground, they have a vendor do that, so if you need colors or whatever, it can be either warm tone, like earth colors, or it can be bright, yellow, blue, red, green.
Okay.
So they have 2 different options. Some communities like it to be more colorful, because then it looks like a playground. Others want it muted and more earth tones.
Okay.
Do you have a preference? I can tell them.
On the playground?
Playground. Because they'll have awnings, so the awnings can be the earth tone colors or I think they have blue, green, and red.
Yeah, earth tones are fine.
Yeah, I think the earth tones are good.
Okay.
Ideal for this location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we need to put that in any sort of motion, or?
Thomas has been taking some notes on that, so yeah, I would
Okay.
include that, just.
I was quick making some notes.
Yep,
Um,
I've been on it.
So, it's too busy, but I drew in what I was talking about, sort of false windows, but that's too busy. I do think, I'm going behind Chick-fil-A, there's a stormwater pond behind Chick-fil-A. And behind that is landscaping, mature landscaping already. So I agree that if you're driving behind there, you're likely not going to see through the landscaping and the fence. It's evergreen.
And there's going to be some landscaping around the perimeter of this also.
Gotcha.
Chairman, there is also an entire pad site, and what I'm looking at on the site plan, there is a pad site between the Kitty Academy and the road that leads back there and Chick-fil-A.
Green space, okay.
Green space for the moment, but pad site.
Oh,
It'll be
that's
a
like
building.
retail.
Yeah.
They cut that back when they, okay.
Yes,
I
so
forgot
if
about
you
that.
imagine that parcel back there that faces the townhouses on the east and I-66 exit ramp is kind of northwestern, that parcel has been divided in half. Kitty Academy is on the back half closest to the 66 corridor, and then there's the open parcels in the front. I can
Gotcha.
zoom it in and show you.
That's fine. I think I know what you're talking about.
computer around.
While she does that, so the north and south elevations, I know the east and west, there's some relief here, so that builds up. Are they, for these on the side, is it, do those pull out a little bit, or is it
They're
flush with
just gonna
the?
come out, a
Okay.
couple inches, that's it.
Okay. The rear looks fine. The rear almost looks more attractive as the front than the back. So, okay. Lighting, the black, are these
Yeah,
vents?
those are full cutoff fixtures. They
Okay.
basically just shine down on the ground.
Okay. Metal?
Yes, they are, a bronze metal.
The townhouses are here, Kitty Academy 66, Chick-fil-A is down here, so this is a whole parcel right there.
Oh, the whole pad site. So if anything develops there, it's going to screen the.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Did you see it, her face, Steve?
That is like a vinyl chain link fence. And because the kids are going to be coming out that side door and going to the playground, they don't want them touching any electrical gear, gas meter, water any of that. That's what is enclosing that. Yeah, yeah. Well, a couple kids have gotten cut, and so that's why we try to,
Protected?
yeah.
That's the side face of 66.
Right,
And I
right.
want to say 66.
There's a,
When you
there's
go
a,
down, you're higher up.
yes, it drops
So-
down
so you're not
as a
gonna-
ramp,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a parking field in front of that also, on that side.
Between you and the highway?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
You want to talk about, so when you go down the on-ramp, you sort of go down, so that it's higher.
Right here is where Kitty Academy's gonna be. This is the light, so you drive down the boulevard to get into it, and then you're in a straight shot. You come down here, and there's like a weird side road. This is a stormwater pond.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A's here. So Lidl's here, Chick-fil-A, so it's not a straight shot
Oh,
back.
so
You have
there's not even a roadway?
No,
Oh,
you have to
okay.
navigate the parking lot. The way you get to Kitty Academy is you come through the light, go down Crossroads Boulevard,
Oh, they did do a cut through.
Yeah.
and you turn right.
So really, the only thing you'd see from Washington Street is maybe like in between buildings and
Right,
things like
you're,
that.
you're just gonna
And
get
there's all the landscaping
glimpses,
back
and
there.
that's,
Yeah, yeah,
the passenger, the driver shouldn't be looking that far.
Do we have Google Earth?
Okay.
Google Earth. So, thanks for indulging. So what we're talking about was the screening. The same between this is the side facing 66. You go on the on-ramps, the land's actually higher, and there's going to be a parking field between here and the, so I think if this was facing Washington Street, we would probably want to have some comments on it, but chain link.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or details? Any more comments on the awning on the front entrance? I'm gonna go with flat theme, so. So the only revisions that I think have come out of the committee is straightening what is the architectural term?
Flattening the gable.
Flattening the gables on the front and on the back.
Across here.
Yeah,
and
um,
back, yeah.
And then the only other comments was earth tones for the play equipment and an enclosure that's of similar materials. Okay.
Now, for the playground, do they have to come back to this committee to present that, or is that done
I think we were
administratively?
gonna give you that approval tonight.
Okay, all right,
So
okay.
staff, let me ask you this. If we approve it with this change and require them to revise it and submit it to you so that the permit that's issued is with the correct elevations, are you okay with that? I think the concern I had mentioned before was that we were issuing the permit, but we were relying on the language in the conditions to affect the visual depictions of what was happening. I think this time, if we require that the revised architecturals be submitted before the permit is issued, then you have the correct architectural drawings in the file that you can refer to rather than having to refer back to the conditions.
The way we're going to do it is we will prepare the changes.
Okay.
We'll send it to Thomas, have him okay it. Prior to us to submit for a building permit review, I'll have in writing that Thomas is good with it. If he wants to share it with you,
No,
that's fine.
Are we prepared to throw a bone on that? Is it, okay. It's just, I would assume that you would not issue the COA to you until the revised elevations are submitted. So,
That's fine. We'll use the same drawing
Okay.
for the rendering as we do for the working drawings.
any questions, concerns? Okay. You want to take a stab at a motion? Or they want- No?
Just to confirm what's in the motion.
Go for it.
So we're including on what's submitted to me, just a listing of trash enclosure, bollard, playground structure colors, and fence color and dimensions as well.
Hold on, trash enclosure, perimeter fencing, okay.
Bollards,
Bollards, what was going to be the colors of the fencing?
black. Bollards, black.
Black. Black fence, kids are going to touch that, be like, ow! Trash, they'll keep them from
They'll
touching the
only-
fence.
They'll
They'll keep them
only
from
touch
touching
the
it.
ground.
They'll only touch it once. Like a burning stove or a hot stove. Trash enclosure, materials to match. Okay, what was the, after bollards?
You have the fence already as well?
I do.
Okay. Last one was playground structures with earth tones.
Playground. Earth tones, okay, and then the elevations, east and west elevations. What did you call it? Flatten the,
Flatten the gate.
Lighten the cable.
flatten,
Or do we need to refer to it as the rear elevation and
yes, I'm sorry.
Rear and
front
front.
elevation,
Yes, thank you.
using that terminology?
I'm in the military, you got, which direction, son? Right, what? Rear, front. Elevations, flatten the gable, and how do we describe the, no higher than the,
No higher than the highest point on the drawing. And then.
I think your idea is fine. I
I'll
mean,
probably drop it, just so there's a difference
Well,
between them.
give you your discretion. You
Yeah,
can-
thank you.
Thank you for working with us.
Well, I would not be able to come back next month,
Okay.
unfortunately.
No, I
My
appreciate you speaking up.
son is going through open heart surgery.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
That's a legitimate reason. Sorry to hear that. Hope it all goes well.
yeah, so do we.
Okay. Our thoughts will be with you. Okay. And then the last thing is that these other conditions, did you want to see copies of these, the fencing and stuff like that before you approve it, or just have the colors in the motion?
I can supply it with the,
Okay.
with the rendering I
Okay.
sent to you. I'll send you the specs and cut sheet on the fencing and the bollards, and I'll see if I can get the playground. I think they have like a little brochure I can give you. Okay.
I just lost everything. Like she said. 3, 4. 0415, okay. Thank you. Wah, wah. Okay. I move that the Architecture Review Board approve ZP 2023-0415, Kitty Academy revised elevations, subject to the following conditions. 1, trash enclosure will be of a design and materials similar to the main structure. Fencing will be a vinyl black. Bollards will,
It's going to be either steel or aluminum.
I'm sorry, fencing, steel or aluminum painted black. Bollards painted black. Playground of earth tone colors. and that the front and rear elevations provided at the meeting will be revised to provide a flattened gable with a height no higher than the highest point on the proposed structure. All these revisions are to be submitted to the zoning administrator prior to the issuance of the zoning permit, and the zoning administrator will affirm that these changes are reflected in the revised elevations and application materials. I have a second. Second? And seconded? Okay, any further discussion? Okay, thank you very much.
I appreciate your time.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion will pass with Mr. Hallett absent for the vote. Safe
you.
trip.
Thanks.
Best. Yes. I'm a little punchy at 2 hours in, so next up, a run for the border. So Taco Bell make a run for, oh, bad jokes, bad jokes. Thomas, item number 4, ZP 2023-049, sign permit resubmission, Taco Bell, 6635 Watts Road.
Yes. Given the fact that this is a resubmission, I'd like to turn my time over to Emily to describe the previous submission
Okay.
for context for the new submission.
Okay.
So I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk to the board about some previous approvals on the Taco Bell and how it relates to the Crossroads Village project that we have kind of been working on since 2019. So I just wanted to bring up what was done in the past, the reasoning why another restaurant was designed off of the Taco Bell restaurant approval, and how that currently exists today, so that you have it in consideration for what's being asked of tonight. So in October of 2019, we originally looked at the Taco Bell architectural plans to include the sign plans, and at that time, we approved a full sign plan package. I know there have been some modifications. We've also had a zoning ordinance change since then. So the applicant is well within their rights to ask for a modification. At that time, we denied any mural going up on the wall. I don't believe you're asking for a mural tonight, but we denied the mural going up. And we also modified the signage there on the front and the side of the building. There were to be no letters on the tower of the architectural plans, no internally illuminated signs, and the bollards in the parking lot were to be bronze, in keeping with the building. Since then, again, that was in 2019. Since then, the Architectural Review Board reviewed the Popeyes design plan, and some of the discussion, if you read back into the minutes, and we can, of course, make these available, but if you read back into the minutes at the June 16th, 2021 meeting, the discussion circulated around the neighboring property, the Taco Bell design, and what was approved for their signage as well as their building colors, because the Architectural Review Board at that time was trying to keep with the color schemes, the design, and the feel of Crossroads Village as an entire project. At that time, they stated again that there were no internally lit signs that were approved, and so that Popeyes, based on what was previously done with the Taco Bell, did not allow for internally illuminated signs and requested that Popeyes put up the gooseneck lighting. So as you drive by and you question why our Popeyes has fancy orange gooseneck lights, that is the reasoning. I'm happy to make any of these minutes available. I just wanted to give context for those of you who were not on the board at the time of how it was designed and how the Popeyes was taken into consideration of the previous Taco Bell approval. And with that, I'll turn it back to Thomas to present tonight's application, and then you guys can work with the applicant to discuss any questions.
Thank you. The main updates to this application involve signage dimensions, the sign design, and the sign placement, along with other exterior items on the site. And I'll go ahead and turn the time over to the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. Appreciate you having us here. My name is Jerry Howell. I'm with Capital Signs.
Are you, excuse me a second, is your microphone on? Sorry, thank you.
Sorry. My name is Jerry Howell. I'm with Capital Signs. We are the sign installer. We actually have as our customer the sign manufacturer, not Taco Bell directly, but any of the review comments tonight would get back to Taco Bell. And what we are, or what they are actually proposing at this point, if you see, there is a site plan with a sign schedule as well as an elevation drawing. On the elevation drawing, you'll see that on the front elevation, there is one Bell logo sign that is being proposed, and then on the left side elevation, an additional Bell logo there with a Taco Bell letter set. And then on the detailed drawings for the Bell logo, you'll see the materials as well as for the Taco Bell letter set. The materials are also, and the colors are listed on those as well. In addition, there is an order point canopy, a dual outdoor menu board, which is the ODMB, a 9-foot clearance bar, which is standard for drive-throughs. All of these things are standard in drive-throughs. Directional, which there would actually be 2 directionals that are located on the site plan as well. And I have the lettering for those if you would like to know what they will say as well. And with that, I will turn it over for any questions.
So the key changes from last time to here.
We were not part of the 2019 process, so I think that was, they were strictly in architectural stages at that point and had not even hired an local installer at that time. So we were not privy to that information. I had questions about that, so you've answered some of those tonight, but not all.
To kind of clarify for the board, I'm just bringing up this context so that you guys can make the best decision tonight based on what's been approved for that development. They do have their master sign plan, and then what was approved at some of those restaurants and businesses that front Washington Street and sit right on Washington Street. So this is just more educational purposes so you guys know what was previously done.
I have some initial questions, but I'll let other folks start if they want to start. Okay. The menu boards, there's only 1 or 2? How many?
There's actually one. It's a dual lane menu board, so it sits in the center island between the 2 lanes.
That's in the order point company D.
No, it's C. C is the menu.
I printed off the last one, and then they had, the last one had a menu board that was like that. It was crazy big. So this one is considerably less obtrusive.
Just from that drawing, yes, I can tell that it is
and
definitely smaller.
Are you going to be able to read it from the street?
Read it from the street. I honestly am not
orientation of
sure.
it? Okay.
I've not been to the site, so I don't even know. I'm not even sure that construction has started at this point. So I'm not sure which way that faces.
Which number is it, please?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The outdoor menu board is item number C.
C. No, it's not going to, I think it's going to have to face the drive-through lane. Never mind.
There should be some landscaping, so do you guys have this layout page? Okay. For orientation purposes, right below the legend here, that's where Giuseppe's is, and that's where their sidewalk currently ends and Crossroads picks up. So you might be able to see like parts of it from the sidewalk or the Giuseppe's patio, but you're not going to be able to clear as day read it from the Washington Street as you're driving.
Gotcha.
Again, if you're driving, you should be reading it.
No, I was just, that was only curiosity, was the orientation, not, I mean, as I said, compared to this, it's a much smaller sign. I talked to Emily beforehand, so west side versus the front, the Popeyes has the Taco Bell lettering in the, Popeyes has the lettering on the front. Here you have it on the side. Is there would there be an objection or be a preference to maybe switching them out? So you take the bell off the tower on the front, move the bell to the, above the entrance So on packet page 118, right here, can I borrow your paper?
On that would be the right side elevation, no, that's the drive-through, so that would be the
west side.
So this
Left elevation.
left elevation,
is
where the
Washington
bell already
Street.
is.
Yeah. This is your west elevation
Right.
facing Popeyes. I can't remember how close or how offset you guys are from each other, but one suggestion was, would you have a preference moving the Taco Bell to the front and then moving the Bell, so you'd have the Bell and Taco Bell here, and then you move this Bell above your entrance on the side?
We would have to bring that up, unfortunately, with Taco Bell in that particular case, again, because we're an installer, that applies for the permit. We are not part of the design element.
Gotcha. Any thoughts on that? Moving that to here, back to here. and then moving the Bell over there?
The Bell logo on the tower is bigger than the other one that goes on the front entrance. So I mean, I think you'd have to look at the proportions of that. Would it look just like, really big in that little nook of the gable?
Your thoughts on changing it, or are we okay where it's at?
I think I'm okay where
Where's that? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
Um,
distinguishable. People will know what it is.
Gotcha. So on this elevations, it shows the gooseneck lighting,
Correct?
but the materials suggest backlit LED.
Exactly. They were using the gooseneck was what I was understanding, lighting there, so to speak, to be in keeping with the other architectural elements of what's around it. And, but from what I have understood, other restaurants in that area, drive-through restaurants and fast food restaurants have had internally lit. And so the internally lit was acceptable for these signs, for the Bell.
For this retail center, no. The retail
Okay.
center has had, Popeyes was the context that Emily had talked about earlier. Our standalone buildings, our freestanding buildings have all had the indirect lighting.
Okay,
And all the anchor tenants in the inline retail also have the gooseneck lighting.
okay.
So that would be my suggestion to ARB, that, I mean, they already have the fixtures there. I think we folks said before, they put the same sign up, they just don't turn it on.
Right.
So, any objections to matching the other gooseneck lighting? Okay. And that would be for the Bell on the front. I just feel like that front's would be blank. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Thanks, Mom. Okay, so the general consensus is okay with the sign placement. The recommendation would be to remove the references to the internally illuminated signage. The only other question I had was on packet page 121. You have Taco Bell as one, and then you have Taco Bell stacked on top.
It was based on the elevation. I think that was a standard cut sheet that they sent.
Okay.
But it would be
The horizontal?
yes.
Okay. Any questions about the menu board? Painted to match? The canopies over the menu boards, any?
Well, I guess the application makes it sound like it's just for the signage, but in the site plan, it seems like it's for everything, like directional signage, awnings, menu board, what is it, the clearance bar, the order point canopy. What is the application?
It's for the outdoor drive-through components as well.
So that includes the awnings as well?
They're not considered the drive-through elements, no, but the awnings are part of the entire package, but they are not obviously signage.
I guess the way I would take it is we're reaffirming all the elements of the previous sign approval.
Yes, so this signage application, I would treat it as you're gonna have your wayfinding signage, you're gonna have your clearance bars,
any of the components that would go with general signage for a customer to find their way through the drive-through or into the building.
Any follow-up questions on that then?
What is it? The order point canopy. This is after the 9-foot clearance bar, right?
The order point canopy is after the clearance bar. It's the order point canopy and a speaker post and the menu board are kind of a triangle setup there.
Is the horizontal bar exactly at the 9-foot mark, or is it a little bit higher?
That should be on the cut sheet, but let me see if I can determine that.
Well, I think the overall post is 10 feet, but I don't know what the vertical height is, how far off the 9-foot clearance is. I'm assuming it's at 9 feet. The reason I bring this up, if you look at the order point canopy back near the vertical support at the point where you have the horizontal coming off, that's at 103 inches. That's 8.5 feet. At the highest point, it goes up to just over 9 feet. They can clear the 9-foot clearance bar, but they'll hit the awning canopy or the order point canopy depending on where it is.
The order point canopy will be definitely at a height that would be relevant to the height detector. Yes, definitely.
But that's the purpose of the height detector, is to say.
Exactly.
Stop.
They're not going to, yeah. If you go above this, you don't fit any further. So,
Gotcha.
yes, to take out any more expensive types of equipment.
Emily, do you remember the Popeyes directional signage? Was it internally lit?
Let me pull up those minutes. I believe the answer to that is no.
Okay. So that would be the same question here. These signs on packet page 123. No,
25, 126.
126.
You're talking about the directional signage?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the multiple things are just, you sort of pick which, you need enter, do you need drive-through, do you need, so that's, I
Exactly.
think that's sort of irrelevant to the,
Yeah.
but it's 5 feet high. Yeah, do you mind looking up Popeyes and see what the height and the,
I'm reading it now.
okay.
No internally illuminated signs for the wayfinding. And the height of which,
These are 5 feet.
which,
The directional signs?
they look,
6'5" and 7/8 inches for the directional signs for Popeyes.
Are you kidding me?
hold on.
That's what was in the agenda.
Holy cow.
Let's make sure I'm reading this.
Thank you for catching that earlier, by the way, the self-storage. I was totally not picking up on the fact that it was 10 feet high. I want to say that's why the McDonald's is probably the way it is, but.
Well, it's 8.5.
Give us 1 second. The agenda has very condensed numbers.
There's
So
numbers on top of numbers.
Sorry you were last on the agenda.
That's okay.
Hopefully you found it entertaining.
I did. No need.
You've gotten a lot of mixed feedback on the fast food restaurants
I'm sure.
and the architecture.
Well, you never want to detract from the charm of a town, that's for sure. And Haymarket definitely has a lot of charm from what I've seen today, so.
So that area is our planned interchange park, so it's sort of designed to capture the traveling public, but it's sort of that's the west end, this is the east end. East end obviously is the downtown, so. But
Based on the numbers that we can see in the packet, again, they're kind of overlapping one another, but it looks to read that the sign will be no more than 4 foot. It looks like it's about 4 foot 3 inches, 3/11. Very odd number.
Okay. Any recommendations on changing the height of the directional signs to match what Popeyes has?
Are they all going to be the same as Popeyes? Did Popeyes set like the standard or?
I think they had two.
Filet?
Chick-fil-A, I don't think they have directional signs, do they?
They do not. The
should know
only
that.
directional signage that they have is, when you come out of the drive-through, they have what looks more like a no parking sign, but it's which way to go to 66.
Yeah.
McDonald's does, but theirs are about yay high.
Yeah.
So, and those are internally illuminated. So a preference for a height and illumination to match the other fast food restaurant in the center, or?
Probably. I would
Probably.
think you'd want
Yeah.
consistency
Okay.
in all of them.
Okay, we've covered the menu board, which is smaller and backlit. We've covered the directional signs, we've covered the wall signs. Any other elements we need to cover? Okay. Staff, are you comfortable with a similar thing here if we make our recommendations to revising the plan sets before you accept it? Okay. And then the only other question I had was there's like a summary sheet on packet page 117. I realize that is from the previous plan. Is there anything in there that's not permitted by, or that's contradictory to what we're, in other words, do we keep it in there or do we keep it out? Is there anything in there that could be read differently, like 9 square feet or anything like that? What we don't want to do is have like one standard and another standard, and you got to figure out which one you got to.
Right.
I would say no, because if we're looking at the area, 9 square feet is far below what the upper limit is for wall signage in terms of dimensions.
So I think I just picked up on, like, on signage allowed, it says bell and letters on the side elevation or bell or letter on the front elevation within the allowable. I think our previous approval just said the bell on the front. So that's where we would need to have this revised to reflect. So what sheet, this is summary sheet? Okay. Okay, so let me list this out. Revise the summary sheet to match the ARB recommendations. Okay. Revise wall signage sheets to state externally illuminated or downlit. What's the better way to say that? Should I say it like before, no internal illumination, just put it that way, or? Okay. State no internal illumination. Directional signs match the height.
So what is that height that you want to get those lowered to?
Are you gonna have the same Popeyes height,
Yeah, Popeye, and then they'll determine it.
4 feet?
Okay.
So if the revisions are made and submitted back to Thomas, can that be the conditional approval that those are revised?
Okay. Similar to what we did last time. So, okay. Revise the summer sheet, revise wall signage to state no interior illumination, directional signage to match the height of the Popeyes approval, no internal illumination. Any other revisions? Okay. And then you would revise these sheets, submit it to Thomas. Once he determines that they're revised, and then you'll be issued the permits. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for coming out. Okay, okay.
Thomas, I'll get with you then on what the summary sheet will need to make sure that we have that correct. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
We still gotta make the motion.
Sorry.
Okay. I move that the Architectural Review Board approves ZP 2023-0349 sign permit resubmission Taco Bell 6635 Watts Road based on the following conditions. One, that the application summary sheet will be revised to match the approvals by the ARB and match the rest of the sign package. That the wall signage will be revised to state no internal illumination. Directional signage sheets will be revised to state that the height will match the Popeyes next door, and that also no internal illumination. These changes will be made to the plan set submitted to the zoning administrator for approval, and it's at the discretion of the zoning administrator to issue the permit once these conditions are met. Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion will pass unanimous, or with Mr. Howard absent for the vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. New business. Wait for them to. Emily, do we have an estimate of when Taco Bell is going to come out of the ground? Do we know when it's coming out of the ground? Taco Bell?
I'll follow up with who I've been coordinating
Oh, no
with
worries.
on that.
Okay,
Yeah, we were just discussing that, but I haven't heard when they plan to break ground.
no worries.
So I was curious about that myself.
We had to do some permitting. I had to write some letters that were approved previous,
No worries.
so.
I think they're in plan review right now with the county, that's what the permit law said.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, any old business?
Yes, give me one moment. I can speak on Rob's behalf for Planning Commission as well,
Okay.
for old business. The main old business is that we've signed a site plan for a third revision for Crossroads Village Center. It's dealt with utilities and a couple parking emergency lane requirements for the Pulte Townhomes. Speaking of the Pulte Townhomes, in my latest correspondence with the coordinator, they plan on continuing to move quickly. I just approved construction release for 17 of their homes. And there's a long wait list for buying the homes. So,
Wow.
high demand. We're working on signing the town center site plan and finding bidding for who will do construction, and also coordinating SWIP for who will conduct that. We're still going to review the Kitty Academy's second submission of the final site plan. So with these architecturals and the site plan being reviewed next month, we should be moving forward with that. We are waiting for comments from DEQ before bringing the Black Drive Townhome site plan to the Planning Commission for review. And then there's a dentist office site plan that is in the second preliminary submission. It's a Haymarket Lifetime Smiles. So it's a separate parcel from the Quarles property, so it sits behind it. So it'll be between Kitty Academy and then Virginia Bank, and is that what it's called? And Chick-fil-A.
The pad site we were just talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, not that pad site, the dentist office?
Yeah, the dentist office.
There is a pad site that's right behind the VNFC bank, whatever, the bank. There's a parking lot, and then there's a very, very, very small pad site right there before you even get to Crossroads. It's that pad site,
Okay, cool.
not the big one that we just talked about. Just to clarify.
No problem. Thomas, architecturals for the Blight Drive homes and those, we'll see those at some point?
Yes,
In the
I can
dentist
follow up with the
office?
applicant
Okay.
for that as well. as we go through review. Other than that, no other old business.
Any questions on old business? Okay. Sounds good. New business.
New business, we will be, let's see. Can you think of any new business specifically?
No, we just have a few new businesses coming in with Crossroads. So Brewster's will be opening up soon. We have a Goodfellas Pizza coming in. They will be opening up soon after they do their tenant fit out. Who else have you approved? A nail salon. We do have a new business that's going to go in on Jefferson Street. It's a new salon. And they're going into the pre-existing building over there that Main Masters is in. It's the old post office building. I think that's about all you've approved lately, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
On the subject of the Crossroads businesses as well, they've all gone through me for administrative approval for their signage. So we've kept up with them on that.
We also have some new tenants that are new businesses to the town, so we're rocking and rolling with new businesses.
Awesome. Farmers Market's doing well. Well, that's the town council update, I guess. New business, I think I talked about earlier, there's a signage that's gone up with, that could use a permit, and there's some fencing that's gone up. I'll provide you the addresses, but if you could coax them into submitting the right paperwork, that would be
Yes,
helpful.
I can do that.
I will get that to you. The sidewalk at the park, that's coming.
Yes, we're at the 90% completion phase for the design. We should be meeting with who we've contracted out with soon to finalize everything for the design phase.
There's something else I'm forgetting to remember, but we'll move on. You've already done the planning commission update?
I can add a little more.
Okay.
We've been working on comprehensive plan amendments, mostly DEQ related, so that we can stay up to their standard within our zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. Other than that, no major updates yet.
Any comments to that? Questions to that? Okay. Town council update. I'm working with Councilman Pater to put together a survey to talk about the town park. We did an assessment, I think we talked to you guys about this before. I did some assessments of the condition of the park building up there. The park plan that was previously adopted had sort of held that as a potential either multi-purpose space, the building, and some restrooms. And so speaking with the council, it's considerable monies that would be necessary to bring the building up to code. And so the idea was to put it back out to the public to see is the preference still to have some sort of multi-purpose space out there, still have the bathrooms, or maybe alternatively do some sort of pavilion over the site of where the house is at and do incorporate some of the elements of that structure into the pavilion. So we're going to put that back out to the public and see if we get some feedback on that. Obviously, if whatever goes on up there, if it changes the exterior of the building or removes the building, they would have to come through the architecture review board to consider that. So, and then farmers market we talked about, it's going well. Mother's Day I heard went really well.
Yes, and a small plug, this coming Sunday, we will have our very own Chip Ragoon officer here to sing and do live music, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Our budget, we're getting ready to pass a budget which will reduce public hearing,
Public hearing for the budget is 30th.
and it's 1.1.
We've already had the real estate tax
Okay.
which is at 0.1.
Would- Reduced rate, so we are able to reduce the tax rate. And then we talked about the town center master plan. Oh, tonight, actually across the street at the hotel, there is a community meeting for a project behind Haymarket Self-Storage and the landscape place on the other side of railroad tracks. There's property behind that part of the town. There's a parcel that crosses the town boundary into the county, and the developer is proposing multi-family housing on both the county side, and they've presented a concept for inside the town, but they have yet to submit a formal application. So, yes.
They just submitted on Monday to the town, it's in completeness for.
Okay. And so there's a community meeting, which it's till 9 o'clock, so we'll get out of here if you guys want to go across the street and ask questions. So the town council, obviously, the town has control over the development within the town, so that would have to go through public hearing and site planning and all the other stuff too. So, anything else I'm missing from the town council's side? Oh, we approved a town maintenance position, a full-time town maintenance position. So I believe we have some applicants for that.
And probably early next week, we'll be announcing the new employee that we'll have, who will start full-time.
Cool. So we're busy. That's all I had. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Appointments.
Well, yes, so we're still looking for a planning commission.
Okay.
Member,
Okay.
with Mr. Weir going on to board supervisor, that left, the one position when Alexander Yanay moved from being the planning commission member to the, town council as the liaison. That left his seat open, so we still have that. Unfortunately, I have received 2 resignation letters from the ARB. Their terms expire on June 30th.
We should write in the bylaws that if you're gonna resign, you have to find us.
Anyways,
A real replacement, not
so,
a.
we will be looking for, 2 replacements on the ARB here come July 1. I believe we may have an interest already in one of the
Yes.
seats.
Yes, we have a citizen here this evening that hopefully will show some interest. Thank you for your service. Is this your last meeting? No, we still have one more meeting.
June.
Okay. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring and being a part of this too. So, hope you can drive around town and say, take. What's that? We did that, or I have no idea, how that got approved. Which is, we've got a lot of questions about that down there. So thank you very much for putting your hat in. Glad to have you. And you're sticking around, right? Okay, good. And Mr. Hallett's still here. So, staff, anything else for the good of the group? None? Okay. Okay, the last item is adjournment. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
A second.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That will pass. Mr. Hallett absent. Enjoy your evening, everybody.
Are you going over?
Yes.